Welcome back to the Sports Talk ATL podcast. I am Chase Earl at Sports Talk ATL Twitter, joined by Jake Gordon. Welcome back, Jake, at Can't Guard Jake on Twitter, and Alex Lord at Go Sports Talk on Twitter. Guys, we had a disastrous weekend. I don't think it can be put in any other words. Outside of 2 innings, the Braves barely even showed up. They scored 8 runs in game 2 against Taijuan Walker in the first 2 innings. Were held scoreless the rest of it. And outside of that, they really, I don't know what that team was. But we got dominated. There's no other way to put it. You got to give credit to the Mets. They put together peskier bats. Their pitching looked great. What are your initial takeaways from this series? Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah, I guess you just got to tip your cap to them. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. I don't know how realistic the division is. I mean, there's still a chance, but, you got to kind of set your eyes on the wild card at this point and try and secure that spot. Obviously, you still want to try. You're not just going to give up. Those guys aren't going to give up. But, yeah, I don't know how realistic the division is anymore.
Jake?
Unfortunately, I was at the lake and playing golf, so I didn't get to watch.
Yeah, actually, that's not unfortunately. That's fortunately, because I'm not going to lie, it was one of the more frustrating. I mean, this was the first time in a calendar year. I remember the last time, I can remember it, that we've really gotten undressed and our ass kicked. And I was like, we are not the best team on this field. We've lost series before, but it was like we blew a game against the Phillies. We blew a game against the Dodgers. I thought we were better in both those series. This is the first time I was like, nah, that team across from us is kicking our ass and they deserve to beat us. I mean, really, if they had swept us, they probably deserved that. That's how bad they kicked our ass. And the last time this happened was late August. I think we got swept in Chavez Ravine against the Dodgers. You remember that series last year and everyone panicked. Oh, we're not going to be able to do anything. Guess what? 6 weeks later, we beat them for the World Series, or we beat them for the NLCS to go to the World Series. So I'm not in full out panic mode, but let's be honest, 7 games back now here in early August, almost the middle of August, that's going to be tough to overcome the way the Mets are playing. I mean, they've only lost 39 games all season. To expect to make 7 games up, I mean, you're going to need another 14-game winning streak. And I hate to say it, boys, I don't think that's coming through the door. So, yeah, you're probably going to have to settle for the wild card. You do have 7 games left with them. But credit to the Mets, man. They surprised me. I did not think they would be able to do that to us. Do I think in the long run they are going to beat us, like if we meet in a playoff series? I don't know. But they're pitching. Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom looked like he's all the way back. Chris Bassett, even David Peterson shut us down. The Braves have some problems right now, so let's get to those problems. One, we need Ozzie Albies back desperately.
It's not just them. It feels like a lot of the guys are putting up uncompetitive at-bats. It's not just, Ozuna. It's everybody. It feels like everybody, it's particularly in that series, there were just too many uncompetitive at-bats. It was so frustrating. 0-2, 1-2, and then just swinging at bullshit. That's what it felt like the whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it was like. I can get into a bunch. I mean, there's several holes on this roster right now. And Orlando Arcia being one of them, replacing Albies. But you're going to get Albies back hopefully in September. Marcell Ozuna is a straight up garbage can. I mean, the guy's a tomato can. I have no idea why the hell the Braves. I mean, I have no idea why the hell the Braves keep sending him out there to start. I mean, you have William Contreras. So this is ironic. This guy is the National League designated hitter, the starting designated hitter in the National League. Now, a lot of that has to do with the voting and the Braves fans voting. I don't know if he's totally deserving of that. I think maybe Josh Bell is probably more deserving. But regardless, you know how many games he's designated hit this year? 15. Why has William Contreras, who has 15 homers in 57 games, only played in 57 games? And why is Marcell Ozuna, who is literally a tomato can, one of the worst offensive players in baseball right now, cannot play defense starting every night? It makes absolutely no sense. It's mind-boggling to me that they keep sending him out there to start every night. And I understand from a short standpoint, hey, maybe we can get him going. Maybe we can get him. We're in August now. These games matter. And they keep starting him like he's somehow going to pop out of this slump that he's in. Nah, man, the guy, you talk about uncompetitive at bats. This guy is flailing at everything. You throw this guy a slider outside of the strike zone, he's swinging and missing by 15 feet. I would never throw this guy a strike. He doesn't take walks. He's walking 6% of the time. He's swinging at everything. He's an absolute garbage can out there. There's no way he should be playing. And we sit William Contreras on the bench almost every game. It makes no sense. Explain that to me, Jake. Explain that to me.
It's not going to get any better because I think Travis d'Arnaud is going to be out for a while. Do you want to touch on that real quick?
They said he's going to be back for the Miami series.
Oh, I must have missed that. I don't know. I just saw that he was in a boot.
Yeah, they said he's in a boot. X-rays negative. I mean, kind of like the same thing when Acuña went with the scooter. He came back. Everyone's like, oh, is he going to be out for months? I'm hesitant about these things because I swear to God, Manny Pena and Adam Duvall both went on day to day for the wrist injuries they had. And next thing you know, they're talking about surgery and out for the season. So both of those happened with those guys. But they did say Darnold, they expect him back in Miami. So that is critical because if you lose him, then you kind of have to start Ozuna. And you're gonna start Chadwick Tromp half the time. So yeah, I mean things would get ugly without Darnold. You really need him. So hopefully that diagnosis stays true. If he's not back by the end of this week, hopefully early next week for that Mets series because we definitely need Darnold there.
Yeah, we talked about it prior to the trade deadline, me and you, Chase, I think, and we just thought, obviously the ideal thing would be playing Darno and Contreras, and whichever one needs a break, DH the other one. And, at this point, it's basically playoff season. Like that, both of them need to be playing every day. William Contreras can do it. He's 23 or 24, 25, whatever he is. I mean, he's young enough to do it. Maybe Darno needs an actual day, and that's when, the Marcell DH comes. And even then, that's just really pushing it. We're in the long stretch of the season. I mean, it's time to nut up or shut up, play games.
I don't want to hear any bullshit that William Contreras can't go out there for 4 at-bats because he catches 2 times a week. Like, that's just horse shit. And that's not an excuse. I mean, you want to talk about the worst decision of Brian Snitker's season so far, it's been playing Marcell Ozuna as much as he has, and we have to be done with this. I mean, we are getting to the nitty gritty, and not only are we talking now about the division slipping away. I mean, dude, we're falling back in the wild card, and I know you lose 4 out of 5 to a really good team like the Mets. You can bounce back and beat the Marlins and the Red Sox and build back up that lead. But I mean, we're not too far out. I mean, if the Brewers go ahead and go on a streak, they're right now the last team that's outside the wild card. If they are going to go on a streak to end the season, the Phillies stay hot. The Phillies beat the Braves. The Padres, they're probably going to win some games. You're talking about battling for one of those final wild card spots. There's no time to be saying, oh, let's see if Marcell Ozuna, it almost looks like he's not even trying out there to fix his approach. I mean, the way he flails out at these sliders and gives you uncompetitive at bat after uncompetitive at bat, it's embarrassing. And William Contreras is sitting here playing 55 games a year. He already has 15 homers. He has a 900 OPS. What the hell are we doing? There's no excuse for it.
Yeah, this is why I guess we'll never know because the Cubs would have had one of the first waiver priorities. But that's why I think they should have tried at least to get Franmil Reyes because he could have been the Jorge Soler this year, having an awful season, but he's still a guy who had 850 OPS last year and 30-something home runs. And he's a guy that maybe you could have unlocked, but I guess we'll never know at that point. Something interesting, too, of course, the Cubs have come out and said that Jason Hayward is done playing for them. I wonder if they would do a bad money swap of Jason Hayward for Marcell Ozuna. I think the fans would at least be a little more patient with Hayward.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because Jason Hayward only has that 1 year left on his deal. I mean, it is like $24 million or whatever, but you get rid of 2 years of Marcell Ozuna. I think because it's 2 years, I doubt the Cubs would do it, but who knows? I mean, it's something you'd probably explore. I'm telling you guys, if Marcell Ozuna doesn't turn around a switch here over the next 2 months, which I don't even think he should be on the field except for every couple of days, unless he randomly gets hot, which I am not expecting. It's not happening, guys. There's no reason to expect that to happen. There's no way he's on the team next year. And it's not going to be just a trade. It's going to be like, dude, they're going to dump him and eat the contract. They don't have a choice. Nobody wants this guy. Like, not only does he come with a domestic violence dispute, he can't play defense, and now he can't hit. I mean, he's literally a terrible player. Like, there is nothing. He is one of the worst contracts in baseball right now because he's useless on the field, and he comes with, all the baggage off the field. So nobody's going to want this guy. And you can't just say, oh, man, we paid him. We got to keep playing him. No, you don't. You have William Contreras sitting on the bench. You do not have to keep playing him. So I'm done with this. Like, there's no way he's going to be in the lineup because Travis d'Arnaud is going to be out this week. But after that, unless he starts dropping bombs, like, come on, guys. Like, this is getting absolutely insane to keep trotting him out there. It's ridiculous.
That's a good point. He was always kind of sketchy because the Braves are dealing with bad press, whether they want to admit it or not, keeping Marcell. And it's not really their choice because of the contract situation. And they were just probably going to feel it out. And if he was still, that borderline triple crown guy, they were just going to deal with it. They were just going to deal with the bad PR. Now he's just god awful. Plus it's the bad PR. I mean, Anthopoulos has got to be just itching to get him off the roster. I mean, itching.
Yeah. I mean, his time in Atlanta is coming to an end. And it's going to be like in the form of they're just going to release him and eat the money. Like we said, the Braves are making enough money. They don't need to be dealing with this BS anymore. It's time for him to go. Another bad thing that happened, we have Ian Anderson optioned. He will start for the Braves on Saturday in the doubleheader. So he's going to be the 27th man. But what did you got? I mean, I don't know, Jake, did you watch the Ian Anderson start that Friday night?
No, I did not, but I did see that, he actually
yeah.
I did watch. Yeah, no, I did see this one. I mean, he he had every chance of the world. He had an 8-run lead and he still wasn't throwing strikes, so that's an issue.
Big issue. Kyle Wright said, silver lining at least. Kyle Wright said, when they heard about the news of him getting optioned, he went up to Ian Anderson just to kind of check on him. And he said that Anderson had that kind of mentality of, all right, I'm going down to the farm. I'm going to work on my stuff and I'm going to come back better. So that's a good, attitude to have for sure. You don't want the guy to kind of, just sulk and be sad. You want him to, get back right on the horse. So it's a silver lining. But yeah, that outing was awful. I said it. I think we were up 4 or 5 runs. And I tweeted out, this game isn't over. Ian Anderson looked awful.
We legitimately went up 8-0. Like, legitimately went up 8-0. And the thing about it is I think Ian Anderson ended up giving up 4 runs or maybe 5 runs in 4 2/3 to end it. A lot of those runs came off him just not being able to throw strikes with an 8-run lead, which is just unacceptable. I mean, I think he walked like the 8th and 9th batters like twice just to get up to the only part of the Mets order that you really don't want to face, which is those top 5, 6 guys. So it's just unacceptable, especially with an 8-run lead. And on top of that, it could have been 10 times worse because Ronald Acuña robbed a home run. And there was another, Michael Harris throwing the guy out at the plate on that awful sin play. I mean, the Braves could have easily lost that game if not for a couple of good defensive plays, and we'd be talking about being 9 games out. So I guess it's not as bad as it could have been. But yeah, Ian Anderson was just awful. I'm glad he's going back down to AAA. I know we'll see him against the Marlins. Hopefully he looks good there. But yeah, he just needs to work on his stuff without pressure. I mean, it's hard to figure things out, especially in a pennant race with all the pressure on you to figure things out at the major league level. But we've seen this guy when he's at his best. He's a very, very, very good pitcher. I still have a ton of faith in him. Let's work on the stuff. Let's get a good 3rd offering, maybe even try to develop a 4th offering. I don't know if you'll have that by the time you need them, but we need them. I mean, we're probably going to need them at some point, whether it's out of the bullpen, whether it's in a spot start down the postseason stretch, whether it's in the playoffs. Like, there's going to be a point where this team needs Ian Anderson to come through, and hopefully he can go down there and work on his stuff. I am hopeful. I do think it's going to be I think it's so much easier to do down there in AAA against worse guys where there's no pressure and to gain some confidence. We've seen Kyle Wright do it. I think it will happen with Ian Anderson. Whether it happens this year, it remains to be seen. But that 5th starter spot is still a huge question mark. Odorizzi didn't look great in that Saturday game. It's his first start, big game. I think he said there was something. I think he made some sort of excuse, like he was a little tight or something. So we'll see if he can bounce back. He's going to pitch against the Marlins, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kyle Mueller, and especially once September arrives, he returned to Gwinnett this past week.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
The issue with Mueller is he's got that broken non-pitching hand. That's the issue.
Yeah, but he just returned this past week, so I'm hopeful. I mean, he didn't look great. I think he gave up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings, but he had a 3-week layoff from that broken hand. So I'm hopeful that that's just like first start, getting back into the swing of things. If he goes out there and throws a couple good starts, we'll definitely see him at September, especially with the expanded rosters. So if there was any positives, here's something.
Ronald's been better. That's a good positive.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the positives, but here's something that I did want to discuss, and I think it's could be what dooms the Braves. And I said this, I think, after the trade deadline episode we did, maybe, Alex, or whatever. But I think the Braves are going to regret not adding more to their outfield. Like, Robbie Grossman is a guy who's going to be DFA'd. He was going to be a DFA. The guy's, I mean, he could end up having a Eddie Rosario like 2 months with us. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't like that's very rare. Lightning doesn't strike twice like that. But he was probably going to be DFA'd. This is a guy who's hitting 200. he's not a starting outfielder. And now you're forced to start Eddie, who had a brief couple games there where he was pretty good, but still, I mean, he's been struggling all season, and he's like 3 for his last 20. And Marcell Ozuna, you're going to have to start those guys. And I just think them not adding at least another option, they're really going to regret that. And I think Alex Anthopoulos was not aggressive enough. I know the deals probably weren't exactly where the value lined up to his liking, clearly. But listen, sometimes you just got to be a little aggressive and give up a little more than you want to give yourself a legitimate chance to win a World Series. And I do think if the Braves don't end up winning it all and they, fall short, it's going to be because they lack another outfielder, another DH bat.
Yeah, I think there's this issue is going on in the NBA right now too. You look with like Kevin Durant and the asking price on Kevin Durant or Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert going for 5-6 first-round picks. I really think people's asking prices are just through the sky right now, and I think part of that was because of the Juan Soto trade and stuff. And I understand that there wasn't another Juan Soto out there, but I feel like naturally that stuff kind of drives up asking prices. And I feel like asking prices were probably ridiculous this last All-Star break because nobody really got moved.
Yeah, I think we're going to count a lot on Rosario, and he's had moments. I think he's working his way back. He's definitely not been as bad as he was, prior to the surgery. That's for sure. The last 2 series, he's probably got like a 750 OPS, and then the past 4 series, he's probably got a 725 OPS, which is not great, but it's definitely better than what he was giving him. And hopefully he can. You just said lightning doesn't strike twice, but hopefully it does with Rosario. He can see now, so that's about the only thing I'm hanging my hat on.
No, Rosario, I have a little confidence in Rosario figuring out. I mean, he's been so consistent over his entire career that I think he's going to be a pretty solid starter. Once again, I'm going back to the whole Marcell Ozuna thing. Like, you're just relying on him to have to play too much. You're relying on guys like Robbie Grossman. Like, I know Ian Happ probably was, not realistic, but who was, and maybe there just wasn't enough guys out there. Maybe those guys were just going for too much because, people saw how valuable they were to the Braves last year. So it was hard to get them, hard to pull off those trades again. But I just feel like there had to be some guys out there where you could have pulled the trigger and made a deal and got a starting caliber outfielder to just rotate with them. And then you just play the hot hand, Jock Peterson was hot for some months. He was starting. Then he got a little cold and it was Jorge Soler. Then, just play the hot hand. I think when you have all those options and you can just play the matchups and play the hot hand, that's really what made the Braves so dangerous last year. I don't think they have that this year, especially. So they're going to have, a weak link in their lineup every game, it seems like, especially if you have to start Marcell Ozuna or, a blind Eddie Rosario or a slumping Eddie Rosario, whatever.
He can see.
Whatever. Yeah, he can see now. I'm just saying, man. I think it's going to be something that they end up regretting.
Yeah, and in Anthopoulos' defense, I think even a guy like Andrew Benintendi, I think, his first 7 games he was hitting .050. He had 1 hit and 20 at-bats. Like, he's been a little better lately, but it's not a guarantee that you go get somebody big that they're going to produce. But, I mean, he has been better lately, but I'm just saying it was never a guarantee.
Yeah,
that Duvall injury was just crushing. I mean, he was one of our hottest hitters, and he's giving you excellent defense in the outfield. That was a crushing injury, just an absolute crushing blow.
Yeah, I agree. It's like something that's not going to get talked about by mainstream people. It's definitely not going to be talked about like Ronald Acuña last year, but it was a big deal. The depth of this team took a huge hit, and hopefully Robbie Grossman can replace him. We'll have to see over the next couple of months what he can add to this team. But let's talk about some of the positive from the Mets series. I have 3 of them. One, most importantly, Acuña looked like he was back. He goes 8 for 19, I believe, in the series. He has a homer. He had a 4-hit game. God, would that be amazing if he could bounce back and have a good final couple months and get hot going into the postseason.
Yeah, definitely. Iglesias was fire. I mean, he came out and shut him down in our only win. He looked really good. So, that's another piece for the bullpen for me. I really like that.
Yeah, Iglesias was fantastic. I really think he's going to be a huge piece, not just this year, but for the next 3 years. I mean, this guy has some of the nastiest stuff in baseball. We saw it on display 2 times during the Mets. They had no chance against him. I mean, fastball, slider, changeup, a really good 3 combination coming up, and he can throw it in the high 90s. He's going to be a guy who, if Kenley Jansen struggles, you're going to see Iglesias in closing situations. You basically have 2 closers back there. They're going to really hold down the 8th and 9th. And now you can bring in Mentor in like the 6th, 7th. That's a filthy trio. And Matzek's like your fifth inning guy. You know, Matzek, Kirby Yates coming back. I mean, this is going to be the best bullpen in baseball, and that's going to be huge come the postseason. It's going to be absolutely huge.
That is a positive. Kirby Yates is inching his way back. You said he'd be back, you know, at the latest against the Marlins, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I think the Marlins is going to be the latest. My last positive here, it's not going to be something that we necessarily saw, but I'm just going to call this a little piece of humble pie. I mean, sometimes a team's got to take a little punch to the face. I mean, the Braves, like I said, they really haven't gotten their ass kicked in a calendar year. Sometimes you got to take a little punch in the face to realize, hey, man, maybe we aren't the best team in the world anymore. You've been riding on your high horse. You think you're better than everyone. You get punched in the face. Now let's see how you respond. I definitely think this could be a good thing for the Braves. I know people don't want to look at it that way, but that's how sports works. That's how momentum works. It's easy to get on your high horse when you win a World Series. When you haven't gotten your ass kicked in a while, it's easy to think you're the big dog on campus. Well, guess what? The Mets just proved they're the big dogs in the division. They deserve credit. I do think they're going to win the division now. And I'm going to give Mets fans like what they've been looking for all the time. I give you credit. They deserve it. I'm not going to act like this series didn't matter. I want to win the division almost as much as I want to win a World Series. Like, I just think it's fun. I think it's like the division to me in baseball over 162 games is important. Like, you played 162 games to find out who's better. Now, the World Series is a lot different and it means more, but the division to me is super important. So credit to them. They've got a stranglehold on it. Just don't choke this time.
Yeah, a lot of Braves fans are doom and gloom, and this series was disappointing. But to your point, I mean, everything I've looked at, FanGraphs, everything is, 95, 96% chance the Braves make the playoffs. There's a lot of baseball left. There's a lot to look forward to. We got playoff baseball, and Truist is going to be rocking. So it's not over. And just like you said, punch in the mouth, do some people good.
A few points about the wild card and everything. The matchup, I think, as it stands right now, would be San Diego, which is it's a tough draw.
I actually don't think it's that tough of a draw. I looked at their roster. I think the Phillies are just as tough.
Hang on. My thing with San Diego is that their pitching is not as strong. They kind of give me a lot of like Milwaukee vibes last year. They got one or two guys. They got a really good bullpen. Now they got Hader, but they're definitely a team you could get past. Hopefully, that means that the home games won't be day games because we can't play during the daytime at all.
That is true. I don't know why we are allergic to the sun. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. But I'm looking forward to all the playoffs. I mean, it's not a one-game plan. It's the best 2 out of 3. Hopefully, we get the top seed because then all games are at home at Truist Park. And then you advance. And listen, you're probably playing against the Mets. And who doesn't want a rematch? And assuming that you don't, pull off a miracle comeback, who doesn't want to play them in the playoffs? I mean, I think that's a dream come true for both sides. I think they want to play us. We want to play them. And let's get it on, But we got to make that happen. We got business to take care of. And listen, I always say it. It doesn't matter how we're playing right now. It really doesn't. We were playing like shit this time last year. You turn things around. You get hot going in October. It matters who's the best going in October. That's the team who always wins it, the hottest team. The Braves have the opportunity to put themselves in that position, and they just got to get it done.
Yeah, we were at 500 at this time last year. So yeah, things are looking up.
Let's talk about some other dogs. Dejounte Murray at a Pro-Am absolutely puts Paolo, I forget it, Blanchero?
It's Banchero.
Banchero, whatever. Anyways, the number 1 overall pick for the Magic. Pretty good player. Looked pretty good in Summer League. He's gonna be a good NBA player. But Dejounte Murray and him proceed to go at it over a Pro-Am. And I start watching all these Murray highlights from all these street ball games, and you're just like, dude, this guy just loves to hoop and he loves to talk shit and he's gonna bring toughness. This guy's a goddamn dog. Like, there's no other way to put it. The beef between him and Banchero doesn't really matter to me. Like, that's all just like, whatever. Who the hell cares what these guys, are going back and forth on Instagram for? That's all stupid as hell to me. But one thing that I figured out is this Murray guy, he is an absolute dog. He's ready to compete. And we talked about it all the time about this Hawks team last year. What were they missing, bro? They were missing some toughness. On the defensive end, just a guy who was like, they lacked that. And we talked about Solomon Hill bringing that. But how good would it be if your all-star, point guard, shooting guard, whatever he's playing, what if he's bringing that? I'm really excited. I think we're going to absolutely love this man, and I think he's going to bring a ton of energy to this team that was desperately lacking last year.
This is far from over. I mean, the Magic aren't going to do anything as far as postseason wise, but the Hawks are playing the Magic quite a bit this season. I mean, we play them every year. So this little feud is not over. So we'll have something to talk about, when those two teams play each other, when otherwise we wouldn't, because the Magic suck. But it is awesome to see. And some of the shit that he's doing is so unnecessary, like in the middle of games, grabbing a rebound and hitting somebody on the head, then taking it up the court. I mean, it's just hilarious. I don't even know why he's doing it. Like, I guess you could call him a dog, but if he wasn't on my team, I would be like, fuck that guy. But he's on my team, so I love him.
Yeah, I wish we could clone him and play him at the 3, man. We need one more guy like that. I will say, telling another grown man you were going to blow his back out is crazy. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's weird.
I loved it, bro. I loved it. Well, I mean, I am very confused.
It's confusing.
Like, do you think he thought about that? Like, did he say it meaning that? But what if he did? What if he was like, I'm just like some prison shit?
I honestly was kind of sick.
Like, I was very confused, but I was also like, I don't even know what he's meaning by this, but fuck, that was sick.
That's just I will say I like the clips did resurface too, because him and James Harden do not like each other. That's like a well-known thing. And the clip resurfaced where he got a steal off Harden and comes down and does like a little bit of a flashy layup and then throws the ball at Harden and pushes him. And I'm like, this guy's got a little edge to him, man. We need somebody with a little edge on this team.
Yeah, we need someone desperately with a little edge on this team, and I think he's gonna bring. I think we're gonna love this dude. I think he's gonna be a huge addition.
It is crazy, though, how mild-mannered the Hawks – I mean, Clint Capella's mild-mannered. JC is. DeAndre Hunter doesn't talk maybe the entire game. And Trey is a little showboaty, but, he's 6 foot. What could he really do? I mean, the Hawks really need this guy. And I saw some people saying, well, we don't need that kind of guy. We need somebody like this. It's like, this is what you've been running for. Like, this is what you've been – yeah, shut up. Like, come on, guys. You're just going to nitpick.
It's a little competition. I mean, like, at the end of the day, this shit goes on at every street ball court. Like, you say, oh, why is this guy hitting him on the head? I mean, bro, that's like half the street ball courts. They're always trying to clown each other and embarrass each other. And it's a lot different than the NBA, man. There's pushing and shoving and fighting and trash talk. I mean, you go to your local YMCA, you get into shit like this. So it's a lot different. That's why he's doing that. I think the funniest tweet about the whole situation, and you kind of said it, Alex, you're like, yeah, there's going to be something to look forward to when they really wouldn't normally be anything to look forward to, Hawks Magic, and said, shout out to Banchero and Murray for giving the Hawks Magic series, like making something important about it when no one else would have ever watched initially.
Nobody would have cared.
It's probably two of the most the Hawks obviously got a little more clout recently, but in terms of all-time franchises, I mean, you're talking about two of the bottom feeders. So pretty funny.
It's crazy to think that Magic made the fucking playoffs in the bubble. That still doesn't seem real to me.
What?
Wow, I don't even remember that.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, dude, they were the 8th seed. They won a game or two against the Bucks, didn't they?
Oh, I think they played. Did they play the Raptors? I think they played the Raptors.
No, they took 2 games from somebody. I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, you know what? Yes, I think it was the Bucks. Like, it was the Bucks. I think it was.
I think they took. Yes. I think they took 2 games.
I think they won the first 2, and I think they won like their home, home or something like that.
I think they won the first game too.
I think it was like 2-2. It might have been 4-1 or something like that. I do remember that now. That is so.
Oh, okay, no, because it was only a 3-game series, but they won the first game, so they went up 1-0 and then lost 2-1. But they were competitive.
What a weird team. Yeah, and then they turned into absolute dog shit. On the other end of the spectrum, this has nothing to do really with the Hawks, except for the guys that we completely ruined this man's career. Ben Simmons. Rick Bucher reported that Ben Simmons. Did you see this, guys?
Yeah.
I saw it.
Ben Simmons, after being asked to play Game 4 of the playoffs last year when the Celtics were up 3-0, left the team group message. I mean, what is wrong with this guy? I mean, he's embarrassed. Like, we both went to LSU, and it's like we refuse to claim this man. Like, we refuse. Like, he did not go to LSU. He is not LSU born and bred. He is a disgrace to the state of Louisiana. Just an absolute disgrace to the city of Baton Rouge, which is hard to be a disgrace to the city of Baton Rouge. But
everybody.
But he is the opposite. He couldn't be more unlike what Baton Rouge is about. I mean, I have no idea what the hell is going through his head. I guess when you just get $200 million, you just don't really give a shit and you think you can do whatever you want. But I've never seen something so pathetic. And I know we've had conversations about, oh man, Ben Simmons, he could actually fit with the Hawks. After this one, like hearing this, no way in hell I would ever want him to play in Atlanta. No way in hell. This guy left a team group chat because they asked him to play in a game. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. We all have that one friend that loves to leave the group chat for emphasis, man. Like just such a baby, man. You sound pregnant.
I mean, he's like a sorority girl. He shouldn't have been on the LSU basketball team. He should have been Alpha Phi.
Yeah, I mean, that old saying, money doesn't change you; it makes you more of what you are. I mean, this is who Ben Simmons has been. LSU didn't even make the tournament with Ben Simmons, who was the number one. I mean, he was the number one player in the country, and we didn't make it. He didn't go to class. He blamed everybody at LSU for what this or that. This is just who he is. And outside of all of this being a really bad look for him and the Nets, it's hilarious. Imagine being in that group message. Kevin Durant texts you, hey, man, we really need you. Come on, we're going to get swept. And then he just goes, Ben Simmons leaves the chat. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I wish I could have been in that group message just to see like how it would all went down. Like I wonder if like some of the players were like, hey man,
like,
stop being a bitch.
Fuck?
Stop being a bitch, Ben. Come on, and we know you can play. And he was just like left it. Or if it really was simply like, hey Ben, can you play this? Can you play a game 4? And he was just like, I'm out. And he just left and he just darted. I really wish we had some details of what the actual text messages were sent that made him leave.
A real instigator like me, I would have just immediately added him back and like, Ben, like you're not gonna believe what these guys are saying. Like I wouldn't have this type of disrespect. They're saying your shit's pink, brother.
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely it's mind-boggling to me. And we've talked about Ben Simmons being traded to the Hawks, and I've been one of those guys outspoken saying, hey, like I think he actually would fit with this team just because what he brings to the table. Hell no after this. This was the final straw. This was the straw that broke the camel's back in my mind. Ben Simmons, he shouldn't even play in the NBA anymore. He should go to the G League. He can take him and his fat-ass $200 million contract and go play in the G League in front of fucking 5,000 people if he's going to do this shit.
Another side note about Rick Bucher. He was on Cowherd the other day, and Aaron Rodgers and his ayahuasca trip and everything like that. Colin Cowherd asked Rick Bucher, have you ever done psychedelics on air? Rick Bucher's like, dude, what the hell, man? Yeah, I've done it. I've done acid. And then Joy starts talking about microdosing mushrooms. It was peak television. It was so good. It was so funny.
That actually
Side note.
Yeah, I know. I think I saw like clips of that. And I know you sent that in here. Guys, we actually have some Falcon stuff to talk. Training camp started. Before we get into some of the big talking points of training camp that have happened thus far, let's quickly touch on Deshaun Watson. He only gets 6 games. Calvin Ridley gets the entire year. That was a huge talking point for a lot of Falcons fans. Like, oh, like, is Calvin Ridley going to appeal? Is he going to get less games because Deshaun Watson, like, obviously he, has 40 or whatever, allegations of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, whatever you want to call it. The thing about the whole Calvin Ridley thing is it's just an open and shut case. The CBA is like, hey, man, you gamble on games. It doesn't matter how much, how little. And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Yes, the NFL needs to be much harsher on domestic violence, on these allegations of sexual assault and rape and whatever. They need to be way harder. There needs to be more concrete rules on situations like this. So Deshaun Watson doesn't only get 6 games. He gets a year or 2 or is out of the league completely for this kind of behavior. But the thing about Calvin Ridley is, there is a rule like, hey, you do this open and shut case. It was pretty simple. And you can't have guys gambling on games. So I understand why the NFL suspended him for a year. The issue isn't the suspension for a year for me, for Calvin Ridley. It's how do we not have a broader, some concrete rules like, hey, if you sexual assault someone, you're not going to play. You get like maybe at least a year immediately, just one. If you sexually assault, that should be at least a year. And if you do it again, you should be out of the league. I mean, there should be some pretty simple, like, hey, man, like, this is ridiculous. Is it not?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Robinson. Go ahead, Jake.
So, all right, I'm gonna give the nerd background, and then you can go ahead and talk because I don't really have much to say about it. So this is all came because of Deflategate. Because if you remember, everybody got so pissed off at Roger Goodell during Deflategate because he appointed himself as the arbitrator. So Roger Goodell deferred to Roger Goodell's decision on, like what the league was going to do about Tom Brady. And so now in the new CBA, it's to the point where Goodell appoints a neutral party, and then the neutral party then defers to Goodell, who can appeal it or not. And so he doesn't have to be like, oh, well, you can't blame me for all this. So that's why people are getting pissed off saying, oh, how could Roger Goodell only give Deshaun Watson 6 games? He didn't. That's the point. So.
Yeah, to go right off that, the third party, her name is Sue Robinson, and Sue Robinson deferred to the NFL's past suspensions of similar cases and just gave Deshaun Watson the most games in those cases. And it seems egregious to a point, but she's just going off past cases that the NFL did. So it's the NFL to blame. And now the NFL, seeing all this backlash, they're like, oh, shit, we got to protect the shield, So now they're going to give them at least 10 games. I mean, reports are surfacing that they want to give them a year. And I don't know how this is going to be anything less than a year. I mean, in terms of just the PR backlash, it's going to be horrible if he gets anything less than a year. And on another note, NFL owners are just outraged about the actual details of Deshaun's contract. They basically gave him the contract with the anticipation he would be suspended for most or all of this year, and it doesn't take basically any of his money away for not playing. So this whole situation, I mean, Cleveland is, public enemy number one in terms of NFL owners. The actual guaranteed money set a precedent for quarterbacks in the future. It was outrageous. Everything in this entire situation is just fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, I think sadly, when you've just been such a pathetic franchise like Cleveland, you're just so desperate to finally find your franchise starting quarterback that you haven't had in 50 years. So you just go ahead and pull this off, knowing exactly what they were doing. I think they gave him $1 million for this year. So yeah, they pretty much knew like, hey, like you can pretty much be suspended this whole year. It won't take any of your money. It's basically a 4-year, $250 million fully guaranteed contract, which is just absolutely absurd. I mean, I think he's already, if he's not the highest AAV, he's close to it just off his 5-year deal, but it's really a 4-year, like $250 million contract or whatever, $230 million. I mean, the guy's like basically getting $60 million a year over 4 years. So I think it's 56 or something. It's something ridiculous. And then, to consider that he did this with all, his allegations and stuff like that, it is absolutely absurd. And he definitely needs a full year, but Cleveland, that's a whole nother story. If they're willing to live by their decision, which they've already made it, they don't have a choice. It is what it is, but I agree with you. Now let's get to the actual Falcons. Some real stuff. Guys, Feleipe Franks playing tight end. Do we have a Taysom Hill on our hands? How is he going to impact the offense this year?
He's been making plays in training camp, and I know it's training camp. It shouldn't really matter, but it is exciting. And, Arthur Smith is creative, whether it's ill-timed. Most of the time he used Feleipe Franks last year, it was on like first down, which I just could not, like 1st and 10, and they were doing zone reads, and it just didn't make any sense to me because those are like, at the goal line or, 2nd, 3rd down and short. But he's definitely creative enough to get Feleipe Franks in the offense. Whether it's, well executed is another question because the Falcons are not going to be good. Their offensive line's not going to be good. But it's exciting to see him out there. I mean, he doesn't run like a quarterback. Like if you've been seeing these highlights, like he's athletic. Like he is toasting these linebackers. And he beat, a couple of defensive backs in one-on-one reps. So, if anything, it's going to be like a circus out there with Feleipe Franks in the tight end room.
It makes me nervous. It definitely makes me nervous. Like, is this what we're talking about? Is this our peak here? And also, what if the defense is just that bad?
Yeah.
But Franks is a good athlete. Franks is a good athlete. I think he can hang at tight end. We'll have to see if he can catch. Because I know it sounds simple, but it's definitely not as easy as a lot of people think it is. Just, he can't catch. Like, yeah, man, these are rockets coming at him. So maybe not for Mariota, but I guess we'll see.
Gun to your head, is he on the 53-man roster week 1?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually am like, I don't know. I know it's just training camp hype and you always get these kind of stories. So you get a little hype. I'm actually excited. I hope we do see him and maybe we'll see him on kickoff team, kind of like Taysom Hill goes down there and knocks the guy unconscious, fumble, recovery. You're like, oh my God, we got our own Taysom Hill. I mean, he runs a 4.5. He's 6'5". I mean, he's a big dude. We've seen quarterbacks make this transition a decent amount. So I'm pretty excited to see if he can actually turn into something at the position. And he would be just because of his athletic build. I mean, if he hypothetically did kind of blossom and developed at the position, he'd kind of be a nice pairing with Kyle Pitts. I mean, those would be two freak kind of athletes that you can do a lot with. So, and Arthur Smith loves his tight ends. So there's something to be a little bit excited if he can develop here. He's not just your blocking tight end.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is kind of sad, though, to Jake's point. It's like, we're excited about Feleipe Franks. It is exciting, though. Football's back, Falcons are going to be great.
You gotta
be the NFL circus.
I mean, we're the Falcons, bro. Like, at this point, we are, to most people, the worst team in the NFL. We got to find something that, like, hey, this would be kind of cool if this guy turned into something. I mean, we're basically just hoping for storylines and hoping that we can find some hidden gem that could be really good in the future. Like, we expect the Drake Londons, the first round picks, to be good. But, like, if we're ever going to get out of this hole and it's not going to be another 5-10 years, we're going to need guys like Feleipe Franks, 6th-round picks, to kind of come out of nowhere to be good, or we're never getting out of this hole. We're never getting out of this hole.
Yeah, that's fair.
Marcus Mariota separating himself as the starter. Guys, what does this mean for Desmond Ridder's future? We've talked about this on the pod several times, but it's been a while. If Desmond Ridder, and we start out like 0-5, Desmond Ridder doesn't play much and we suck, how are they going to possibly, evaluate whether they're going to get a quarterback or not in next year's draft?
It's going to be tough. It's definitely worrisome because, Arthur Smith is the type of guy that isn't going to, just fold it in, pack it up, get ready for 2023, start the evaluations during the 2022 regular season. He's the type of guy, and he's trying to build the culture, which you have to respect. You fight every inch, you fight every quarter, you fight every game. We're trying to win no matter what. It doesn't matter. And that's all good, except for the fact that, we got generational quarterback class in 2023 coming up. And if you don't get a proper evaluation on Desmond Ridder, then what are you going to do? You're going to still draft a quarterback and then, just trade Desmond Ridder or just have him battle it out in camp. This is something that needs to, happen. But I will say, if I was I am a betting man, I would think Marcus Mariota is not going to make it the full season. So no matter what, we'll see Desmond Ridder. I mean, if you just look at his past years, Marcus Mariota gets hurt. And it's just the way he plays. He plays hard. He uses his legs. He puts his body on the line. And eventually, a 300-pound man is going to crack you and you get hurt. So I'm not exactly worried about Desmond Ridder getting playing time. I just think if he doesn't, it's going to be interesting, I'll say, to see what the front office does. Because with no evaluation of Desmond Ridder, how are you going to move on already, It's unfair to him.
I don't think you can without a fair evaluation of Desmond Ridder. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe they just keep them both. Maybe you do just continue and say, hey, because the number one priority is finding a starting quarterback. It doesn't really matter. Like, if you have Desmond Ridder on the roster with Bryce Young, I don't really give a shit. Like, take Bryce Young, figure out what to do with Desmond Ridder later. You can trade him for a 4th-round pick. Like we've seen a million times. Maybe you trade him for a 2nd-round pick. Maybe you start out the hype train in camp. Oh, Desmond Ridder looks great, but we have Bryce Young. Let's try to get a 2nd-round pick for him. Who knows how you do it? But yeah, you get the quarterback, you figure out the right Slater. So I think it is going to be one of those things, whether Ridder plays or not, unless Ridder looks really good, that they're going to take the quarterback if they like one of those guys, because you have to find a starting quarterback if you're ever going to win games in this league.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see Marcus Mariota. I don't know if it's just Falcons beat report.
Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl, guys. Like, this is what people don't understand. We do have Jalen Mayfield, tomato can guy. Everything coming out of camp was just awful from this guy. This guy was the worst lineman in the league last year. We keep talking about, could he take a step forward? Could he take a step forward? All right, he's not going to take a step forward. The guy sucks. Even if he does take a step forward, he's just going to be the 5th worst offensive lineman instead of the worst. How long before he's off the roster completely? I know he's a 3rd-round pick. I'm going to say this is his last season. I bet he's off the roster before the end of the year. I'm going that far.
I'll let you go, Jake.
I don't know about that, but I don't know. We're going to see how prideful this front office is. I can tell you that. We'll see if they cut their losses.
They I'm still pissed off they took as a backup.
I'm still Yeah, I mean, I'm still just pissed off they took Justin Schaefer over Jamari, who has been incredible apparently so far this year. I don't know why they took a look at Georgia's line and decided to take the worst guy.
Yeah, they took an incredible offensive line and it was just like, which one's the worst?
Schaefer, the videos I've seen of Schaefer, he's been lunging on pass pro. He looks, like I said from the beginning when I did my interior offensive line rankings, I said he's a guy that's going to need a lot of work, and he's not somebody that you're probably going to have start for maybe not 2 years. And when you need a solution at the position right now, I don't know why you wouldn't go with Jamari. But hey, I mean, I don't get paid to make those decisions. But Mayfield, like I said, Schaefer?
Why'd they go with Mayfield? No, why'd they go with Mayfield? This dickhead, he was a right tackle in college. He wasn't good in college. And they're like, yeah, we're going to make him our left guard.
Yeah, Jalen Mayfield was one of those rare players where I think immediately I was like, ugh, that pick kind of sucks. And then it just never once was like promising at all.
I think the one point that I was like, okay, I started talking myself into it was he was one of the most unathletic tackles as far as RAS. But then as a guard, he is incredibly athletic, like a 8.9 or 9.1 out of 10. And I thought, maybe he could learn it. Arthur Smith runs a zone scheme, which is, you need more athletic guys. You don't just need guys to go straight. You got to have them go side to side. And, I don't think, in terms of Mayfield's future, I don't think the team's going to cut him this year. I mean, what kind of team would, think that they could draft this guy who's an obvious project and then give up on him after 2 seasons? That's just bad business. And, it's bad business. You don't want to do that.
I would have never took him in the first place. How about that?
Sometimes you just got to look at a guy and just realize he's a tomato can. He's a potato out there. He might as well have no arms and legs. He's just rolling around. He's rolling around.
Kevin, the Falcaholic, put out a video the other day of him going up against like a fringe roster guy, like 59th guy on a 53-man roster, like practice squad guy, just absolutely toasting him in one-on-one. And it looked bad. It's really discouraging. He is not that good. And I feel for the guy because he's taking his lumps on the field and off the field. I mean, he is getting heckled nonstop. So I really do feel for the guy. But I mean, just be better, be better and it'll stop.
Did y'all see the video of Jordan Davis?
Yeah.
Did you see that video in reverse?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yes,
that was
funny. That was funny.
Great.
I do think I think Jordan Davis could pick Jalen Mayfield up off his feet
with one hand, probably.
To be honest, Jalen Mayfield, I don't know. Does anyone know? And we could probably look this up. But how many reps of 225 did Jalen Mayfield do at the combine? Did he even do it at the combine? Because and I know he's obviously strong compared to us, but he just looks so incredibly weak out there. It's not even funny.
He's never looked in shape. That's kind of an issue that I had when
he's a roly-poly. He's a roly-poly. I mean, he just gets tossed around the field. Let's see.
I'm not trying to dump on the kid, but we have talked about this many times. Alex, I think, described him as a doughy kid, and I think that's a good way to put it. He's only, 22?
Yeah.
Hold up. Let's see.
But that's something you can fix.
Where's the combine? Where's this guy's results? I want a number. I want us all to guess, too.
Well, let's, he probably didn't even do it.
Probably 12.
His actually draft projection was round 3, which is just crazy to me.
Well, he was supposed to be a first-round pick until the last couple months of the season.
He didn't do it.
Of course he didn't do it, bro. He probably got 6. He probably got 6 reps.
Yeah, he didn't do it. Damn.
Which, for a 300-pound man, he should be doing that at least 25 times.
How are you an offensive lineman? You're doing the 40-yard dash. You're doing, broad jump, the 20-yard shuttle, the 3-cone, a vert, and you're not going to do a bench press? He may be able to get 5.
Why do they all? Anytime someone doesn't do something at the combine, it's because they're afraid to get exposed. It's a very simple thing. There's only there's only reasons why you don't do things at the combine. It's because you don't want to get exposed. And I think that's pretty obvious. I think we can all look at Jalen Mayfield and say, for an offensive lineman, he is not nearly strong enough to play in this league right now. I think one of the biggest things Arthur Smith talked about when him improving was getting stronger. I'm sorry to say he looks exactly the same. There was no.
That's why I really don't mind getting on him, because that is something you can fix. You can get in better shape, especially in the NFL. Like you should have refined your body at least a little bit by now.
Yeah, no, I have no confidence. I think it's going to be one of those things where I know it's rare to cut a guy after. But I mean, as much as like, listen, what are we going to say? Are we going to say the front office is stubborn and da-da-da-da? I think, Arthur Smith is a very hard-nosed dude. Kind of got that Belichick attitude. I mean, we've seen the Patriots just say after like 1.5, 2 years, if they cut ties with a guy like, hey, man, he just sucks. It's not going to work out here, and move on. I think you could see something like that. Like maybe this year is a little overzealous. I'm trying to give a hot take here. I just don't see it with him. I just don't see how he's going to get to the point where he can be a starting or even a playable NFL player. He was that bad last year, and he looks no better early on in training camp.
Well, to be even more pessimistic, we're replacing him with a backup. Elijah Wilkinson.
With a backup that's normally a right tackle, right?
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, it's a shit show. I have no idea. I mean,
I don't know what's going on in Flowery Branch.
Thank God we have money next offseason. Like, buy me a damn offensive line. Find me a franchise quarterback. The craziest part about it is we'll probably go out there and win 3, 4, or 5 games, whatever. 5 games. Let's say we win 5. We have a great season for what kind of talent is on this roster. If you can just go out and buy an offensive line next offseason and you draft a good rookie quarterback, like that 5 win, because the NFL rosters are so like it's razor thin, the difference between 5 and 10 wins. Like next season, we could be a 10-win team. But you got to get that offensive line fixed, because right now is an absolute. I mean, it's embarrassing.
I mean,
I'm going to tell you exactly how this. I'm going to tell you exactly how this is going to go. The Falcons are going to get dogged out first 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 5, 6. They're going to hit that easy, the easier part of their schedule where they play like Carolina. Call of Duty is going to come out, and I think that's when they play Arizona.
We're beating the Saints, though. We're beating the Saints, though.
No, we're not.
Week 1.
I've given up on that. I've given up.
That's
how you know I'm truly pessimistic. Jameis is going to win MVP, by the way. But
Jameis is injured.
I love Jameis.
Jokes is they're going to do that thing. They're going to fuck around at the end of the year and then like push their draft to like they're going to pick like 7th or something.
Yeah, we're going to like miss out on the 3 generational QB talents, and we're going to be stuck with some scrub. And we're going to miss out on Will Anderson too, just to make it even worse. We're going to get and Jalen Carter. Yeah, we're going to get the guy. We're going to get the 6th pick. It's going to be like 3 quarterbacks: Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and we're just going to be like, oh shit, who do we take? Let's go reach on the shitty quarterback that should be taken.
We'll
like
draft
20th.
Another wide receiver. No,
take another wide receiver.
Keyshawn Boutte, baby.
Oh my god. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about this episode, first preseason game Friday. What should we expect? The starters are reportedly going to play probably for about a quarter for both teams. We get to play the Lions, so we should see some hard knocks about us, right?
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's probably the highlight of the Falcon season right there.
That's all. That's about all I got for that one.
I've actually heard that the hard knock. I don't know if you has it even it started, right? Or is it just about to start? It's about to start.
I think tonight's the debut.
I think or like Sunday or whatever. Yeah, they're like. I've heard like they absolutely are loving this. They got Dan Campbell. So the content that they're getting on this show, I've heard is unbelievable. And I'm not a big Hard Knocks guy, but I think this might be the first time I watch simply because I love Dan Campbell. And I love like what he's bringing to Detroit. Like we can all laugh at what the shit he says, but like those players are buying the fuck in. And like if you watch that team play last year, like they were so close to winning like 8-9 games with just a talentless roster. And, like, those guys believe in this man. And he makes you want to run through a wall. And the shit he says, I'm excited. This will be a Hard Knocks that I will watch. I will definitely be tuning in. And I'm interested to see how the Falcons play into it because they will be on the episode.
Yeah, I think.
It does debut tonight, first episode. And I'm a big Hard Knocks guy. Usually the last, like, 3 years have been awful. The Chargers-Rams COVID one was dog shit. The Cowboys one was horrible. I think the Browns one, the Raiders one was okay because Antonio Brown was just being a psycho. The Browns one was probably the last truly great one, so I have hopes for this one.
In terms of what Falcons fans have to look forward to, the young guys, Drake London, the 2 edge rushers, maybe Lorenzo Carter proves the 5 sacks in 4 games last year wasn't a fluke. Richie Grant, who I'm still hoping he can pull out something, looks like he's going to be a full-time starter. So just watch out for those young guys. And obviously, Kyle Pitts, best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah. I'm excited, guys. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Sports Talk ATL podcast. We will be back with you either later this week or next week.